It's the
Wi-Fi.
The Wi-Fi is working well.
okay.
Can I give you data? I have 15 GB.
Yeah, technology. Sometimes your friend, sometimes.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me
Yes, I
now?
can hear you. Not a lot better now.
I've been struggling with, in fact, the devil is a liar.
Yeah, no, yeah. Sometimes
That's why,
it just.
yeah, I have been. So I had to close that. The first one, I hope it saves because I just couldn't get around it. I'm praying that it saves, you know.
Much better. I can hear you now.
Can you hear
Yes.
me now? The
Yes.
devil is a
Yes.
liar.
Yes.
We must talk about, because you know when the devil gets the children, it has gotten generations. So I wasn't
Yes.
saying, like I keep telling you, the devil is not interested in now, because now is happening now. Is what will happen later, you know, and
Yes.
that's getting our children through different means and ways that, you know, will serve as an alternative to whatever we are, you know, trying to raise them with. So I knew when we are touching sensitive topics like that, the enemy will rear its head.
And you know, Auntie
So
Tinubu, we must talk about them. We must talk about them
we
because the
must.
enemy have
It's
to.
very important,
We don't have a choice.
because I see there was this man, very well known, successful lawyer. He came then, many years back. He came to my office then. He needed to get some. Then I was still in the airline, and then he was saying something. Next thing, he came with his son. Next thing, his son said, "Shut up, Dad." I I didn't.
It
Shut
didn't
up.
register quickly.
My
In
God.
front of everybody, oh, he didn't even call the daddy behind and say, "Daddy, just shut up." In front of everybody, said, "Shut up, Dad." He was so embarrassed. He came to buy first class, but he left that place that day lower than coach. You know, when you can see somebody, he became deflated immediately.
Auntie
I
Tinubu,
don't know why he decided to bring a child that could tell him shut up, Dad, to a public place.
it didn't just happen. It's been happening internally. It started, the root actually started from the home. And probably at the point when it started, there wasn't a good communication, an effective communication to let that message sink in that you do not speak to your parents using such language and in such a manner. And danger with it is not what you think is surface in terms of that response is just one side of it. Behavioral is also the other part of it, which is where the issue is in. And that's why to a
And
very significant extent, these conversations need to happen to make all parents know that look, it's not
absolutely, but
you don't
I think it was a cry for help from the son, from the
yeah,
child,
yeah.
because probably nobody's giving him attention that he needs at home. So he was like, "Okay, wherever you are, I will so disgrace you. Everybody will know something is wrong here." You know, because the shut up, Dad, came from nowhere. It wasn't like they were arguing or anything. I think the man was trying to You know, like, just talk to us. Next thing he said, Daddy, shut up. And you know, these are the so which takes me to this question. There's this young child, 1 year old. It was another person telling me this story that she was there and the baby slapped the mom on the face. And she was like, stop it, stop it. So the person that was telling me that the child that will slap her, God will not give her. Because she will beat the dad. That she was
I feel I
I
don't
brought
agree
you
with
to
that
this world
response.
and I can take
Nah.
you away. I said that's
I think I think sis, for me, that child is a 1-year-old child. So it's, you need to think about the age of the child, more of the reaction of the parent. The parent has not taught the child that it is not
this
acceptable to do that. So the child is only 12-month-old child, has been in this life for 12 months. The first 6 months of the life, the child is not aware of anything. Then from 6 months, the child is beginning to learn some behavior, but the reaction of the mom. If a child, so I would say if a child was in a nursery, a 1-year-old child, hits another child, my job as a practitioner is to tell the child that is not an acceptable behavior. I won't say that is not an acceptable behavior. I will come to the level of the child and say, you don't do that. And that was where the mother made a mistake. You need to
that's
let the
your
child know.
That's your
No, I
Oyibo.
No,
think the
it's
child
not,
has
Oyibo
been,
that
it's,
you
but
before
get
that
the
is
to
child
the
can
right
even
thing
do
you
to
that.
get to
do.
limit it to
Before the
talk.
child can do that outside, the child has always been doing it inside
Been
and he's been
getting away with it
indulged.
in the
He
house.
hasn't been
It's been
corrected.
getting
That's the
away,
reason.
You
yes.
don't mean Oyibo.
So it's not
I
the child's
agree, I
fault at
agree.
age 1.
At age
It's not the child's fault.
1, what is that
No,
child?
absolutely. It's not the child. What I'm saying is that your Oyibo tactics, stop it! Don't do that. No Nigerian mother is going to do that one. Oh.
You know,
You will
and
get, there's the pankere, cane is in sizes. There's the two
but
finger. There's
you
the
came.
But
pankere.
if the mother
But
beats
it's
the
not the
child,
child's
he
fault,
doesn't stop
sis.
the child. He won't still stop the
But
child.
that's way to
It's
teach
not
also
that
that
the
it's
child
not
might not do
acceptable.
it on the child might not do it on the mother. Doesn't mean the child won't do it on someone else.
Boy. So my
And let
question
them
is,
beat him there.
behavior is that child getting at his home front that is bringing those type of
Child is
behaviors
1.
out? So we need to ask some questions beyond just discipline for the child, which is right. We also need to ask what is happening in the home front. What are the
Yes.
behavior? Is it bad watching? And
That
I'm not saying that.
that's where, yes, because
Yes,
sometimes the children mimic what the parents does to the other
See.
parent.
like Auntie
Yeah.
said, a 1 year old in the first 6 months is not aware of their environment. In the next
They're
6 months are
not
the
aware.
formative months. And I'm very sure that kind of behavior is one that you are mimicking something, either mimicking what you're
It's
doing on
1 year
TV
old,
or
1 year
mimicking
old.
what you are watching in the home front. So we need to ask questions. And this is why,
Yeah.
beyond discipline, and that's why I say, discipline is a shock solution. So it's step further behind beyond discipline to actually making engagement to find out what is pruning or building this type of behaviors up. Why? What kind of exposure? What should be done to curb them? When you start that clinical approach, they're actually bringing solutions that are far-reaching and permanent. But what you have just done with DP is that you have just taken a temporary shock implementation for that moment
Yeah.
in time. Pain will be
No, no,
felt.
no. You
After
did say
pain
then,
will
no. You
happen.
still continue with the finding out what happened.
The point, and
But
that is
that
why
instant you slap my face, you never slap any face again. Oh no.
you know.
Oh,
Let
you will
me explain. You know the
But
when
that will
crazy.
face
make the child
talks, you know that you
violent.
shouldn't be slapped.
It makes the child
Let me
become
tell you
violent
something.
as
I
So
well.
want to
I
know
do
when
agree. I
when we
do
were
agree
growing
that
up.
further because sometimes it could even be the nanny slapping the baby's face too,
Yeah.
you know,
That's
and
teaching the child.
that
But then
he or she thinks is the proper thing to do. But
exactly.
dealing with it also immediately with the child. I remember, and I've given the story before. As a baby, my as a 5 months old baby, my baby beat my breast during feeding. Ah! I was like, what? I didn't argue. The feeding ended immediately. Bagam. That was the end. She was still hungry. She was crying, and I didn't answer her. You know. So later on, when we resumed feeding, it was time for another feeding. It already was in our head that this is sweet but must not be beaten. So
Sis, and this is what I'm saying.
she didn't bite
This is
at
what I'm
all.
saying. Yes, but she had
13
led.
weeks later, when she beat again, but I knew immediately that she knew, because the minute it happened, she just looked at me like this with, when a baby comes saying, I'm sorry, I didn't expect to do this. I forgave her.
Yes,
It never happened
you
again.
had already, you had already, and that's the thing. You dealt with it immediately.
Absolutely.
You dealt
So
with it, and this is why I'm saying it's the reaction of the parent. As before, the child has been if the reaction of the parent is don't worry, whose fault is it? It's not the 1-year-old child. But if my child slaps me, I mean, in our culture, we don't encourage hitting a child. We encourage communication. You come to the level of the child and you tell the child eye to eye, you don't do that. You don't do that if you're going to, and it's in a nursery as well. That's what I use the example. I'm not going to hit another person's child in a nursery. The child could hit another child. The child will go to another place and say, you don't do that. There's consequences. You're going to be, and that's the thing. It's how we are encouraging children to deal with situation as well. As you said, violence in our own culture, we don't encourage violence. That's the thing. We don't say because somebody hits you, you're going to hit them back. We use our words. We communicate with our words. That's what we use in this culture.
Correction.
No. Well, Auntie Tinu, I beg to disagree with you with that rod thing. I beg to disagree. The rod has different meaning. It doesn't necessarily have to
the
be
rod
pain.
does not have to be a stick.
It doesn't have
The
to
rod
be a
can
stick.
be your words.
It can be
Your words can be the rod.
Yes,
it doesn't.
man.
I'm happy you're agreeing with me, my fellow professional.
Yes.
Yes.
The rod
of the word is more destructive than the physical rod as well.
Yes, and that's why the children need affirmations as well.
Yes.
They are words. Affirmations.
We need to use our words. We need to use our words with our children. And that's why
affirmation, talking, but there's a balance.
Let me put your phrase in the right perspective. Proverbs.
Okay,
and I
thank you.
Proverbs 22:15. It says, "What is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of discipline." Now understand it, the rod of discipline. Like it was mentioned, when we use the rod of discipline, we take it to the literal term. We must not.
Yes. And there's a problem with that.
When we're growing up, right? My mom is the one who will talk to you when you are erring. And that is the scenario. But you know what? We always say,
the rod is different. There's the rod of carrying the 2 ears up and dropping the child suddenly. That's another rod.
when we're talking about here, right?
There's the rod of teaching a very good place. I'm rods.
The comment of our viewers here is actually very interesting. So don't get us wrong. We're in no way saying that discipline is wrong. We're in no way saying that. We're in no way condoning indiscipline. But what we are saying is that beyond a temporary fix, which is a shock therapy, which is like a joke to reality at that instant, what else can you do to go beyond that instant solution to bring in far longer and more permanent solutions? And that's what we're saying. We need to actually go in further to actually investigate the environment, investigate where those tendencies are picked up from, investigating why the child feels victim is the only solution to matters. And while you are solving that instant problem for the child, you are also taking care of the home front where some of those tendencies are being built up. I think that's a proper balance to maintain to the solution preferred.
I think Sis is just trying to be.
The rod can be interpreted in various ways. I am still not against if they need the cane, they get the cane. I agree that I don't beat I think between Brother Kolapo and Morenike, you know my children. I don't beat my children all the time. All the time. I didn't beat them. I don't remember when I beat
I
them.
don't see you.
And
No,
that
you
option
can't. I
is
can't
available.
remember. No, you haven't. You haven't done that in
Now,
front
now
of
they
me
are
anyway.
adults now. Which child will I beat now? That is,
Mm.
they are adults now. You know. But what I'm saying is that it wasn't something that he was out of. I mean, I recall my son that I would lift him with his ears and then put him down. That's enough. Even the fact that mommy is upset with them is enough to break them into tears and put them, together. So what I'm just saying is that balance, and I do agree with you that, and it's not every child that needs. My children don't need caning. They're like me. They're very, very delicate and emotional. We just shout at them once, they will start. they will start.
Your research.
They will start. So I guess it not depends on the kind of. I mean, okay, I'm talking now jokes apart, and it depends on. You have to know your child to even know the discipline
Yeah.
that would suffice. And
Yeah,
children
because
are
for every
different.
child that
Children are
they're different.
different. What would
Exactly.
work for child A may not work for
Will not
child
work for
B.
child B.
Exactly.
Because children also they take after two parents come together to make a child. So you will see some traits and qualities in
Great.
your children that you can easily trail to your partner or yourself.
Yeah.
So I guess that also helps in knowing how to, what each child needs and everything. And I was going to talk before this thing went off about that being intentional and being involved. I know there are men here who perhaps don't. I'm very big on school runs, and I'll tell you why. Because you spend quality. It's an avenue to spend quality time with your child. So whichever way it works, I know couples, you have to sit together. Some are so busy, but you can't be too busy for your child. So even if it's once a week that they know on Friday daddy is coming to pick me, because for whatever reason, I think in our culture, we just think it's the woman who has to do school
Mother
run.
needs to do everything.
And it's
Yeah.
putting a lot of pressure on women who take it up, fully. From day one, with my husband, and like I mentioned, my father was the one doing school runs. So, in fact, I was the one that my husband would ask to please help him if he has a meeting at that time to help him pick up. So it was the roles were reversed. In fact, it was such a. By the time we finally ended up with school runs in my last child, the fathers, there were not many. They got together and congratulated themselves, and we all
Wow.
who showed up that day, we clap for them. It's a big thing, but it helps in knowing who your child is. It helps in when you talk tomorrow to your child, when the child is grown, for the child to listen, because the child knows
Yeah.
you've been there, you've been with me. Not men who just impregnate a woman and then leave all the raising to her. And like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be balanced, depending on your work, commitments, and it doesn't necessarily have to be 50-50. You take in the morning or you take in the evening. Just make your presence known.
Yes.
And then another thing I want to talk about, sorry, before you go on, is how even till date, I recall when, because my children are now, we've been empty nesters for a while. And I recall the early years of how we would travel to different places. Morenike, you two, you do it. Every time I say, Morenike wants to finish my brother's money, but he said, okay, you people should go. In fact, you people... Morenike is my sister-in-law.
Oh, great.
You were not here when I was introducing. She's my only brother's wife. But I love it. I love it. In fact, I think you people have done it even more than us, because maybe you people have money. You will go Easter, you will go December. At least we used to do once a year. Those were the memories we hold on to now. Now that they're, out of the house. And I think it's very important, that you build up a family, relationships just like that.
Yeah.
So,
So I
Brother
think
Palapo, you want to say something?
I will just
Yes.
jump in and just again say that, and I think it's very particular. See, when the family is made up of the father and the mother, it celebrates. God knew what he was
Yeah.
doing when he actually brought
Yes.
in a union between the man
Absolutely.
and nothing is going to erase that. And regardless of what the modern movement is trying to preach, the
Society brings back.
all of that,
Yes.
it won't change. And I think it's a reality that we need to actually put out there. And I think it's a very good way out actually to actually just again give a shout out to the men who are actually standing up to be counted in this journey. You have a very significant role to play, both for the male child and for the female child. It's very, very particular. As a young lad, I had good experiences knowing when my father came to pick me up from school, knowing when we discussed my grades, knowing when we actually discussed, good plans for the future. When I talk to my sisters too, I know when they make mention of those good memories. So it's a good way to actually just ask our fathers as well to say on this journey we shouldn't just assume it's the task for the wife alone. I mean, it's not. Sometimes we bring good vibes into the home when the kids and mommy wakes up to find daddy making breakfast for everybody, for example. That actually just brings in those funk that make the house a bit more vibrant and a bit more interesting and all of that. I'm completely aligned with you. I think us men have a very good role to play. We build good values, we create the right ambience, and we create good memories, and we actually take the lead. And in this
Absolutely.
generation that we're in, there is no role definition. Of course, there's some things that automatically fall more, especially when it comes to some DIY requirements in the house. Yes. But in this time, the lines of saying this is a man's job, this is a woman's job, it's completely blurred. It's a joint effort that everybody has to do, come together, come to the table. And while you were offline, we were discussing when we discussed about networking, that there's nothing wrong with one evening when we try to hold a house AGM. And yeah, who is the chairman, who is the vice chairman, who is the president, the board of directors, everybody sits on the table and we say, okay, you know what? Let's put this matter to the table. Let's discuss who takes care of the lawn, who takes care of the laundry, and we rotate it, come to an agreement. Let's try it out for a month and see what the end result is and come back at the next AGM to agree. These are the ways we can build values in this. And you know what? These are big values that our children, the millennials, will learn from. It gives a good ambience of segregation of duty, gives a good ambience to learn division of labor, gives a good ambience to learn accountability, responsibility, learn that you actually have something to contribute. You are not just a statistic in this home. You are valuable. Your inputs are needed. But all those come together, we build the right ambience that our millennials can actually learn from, and then we create the value. Then it also helps when millennials take a decision. They think of the implication of that decision on the family. And you know what? Sometimes when we say these things that a good name is better than silver or gold, sometimes it makes our millennials realize that, you know what will my mom, what will my dad say or think if they hear that I'm involved in this? That self-check mechanism, I think for myself, a lot of things that I would have wanted to do when I think, man, what would this do? It will actually just shatter my mom completely. I go like, no, no way, this is not going to work. These are the little ways that we can build accountability and responsibility within our children. It all speaks to the same thing we were talking about: inclusion, being deliberate, being intentional, and of course, making time aside our regular career input to actually concentrate on building a people. Very important and fundamental.
Okay, thank you. I think also, in addition to all we've all said, a lot of times we have time to schedule maybe an appointment with our friends, schedule some even church programs and meetings. We must be there. I think we should put raising our children, as something that it's so easy to forget that they need attention, especially when you're in the same house. We've talked about being the fact that you are present in the house does not mean you are present,
In their
in
life.
their lives. And we're talking to a lot of parents, even young adults. You find out that sometimes the things that happen under the nose of the parents in the house. If I
They're
had a
not even
particular
aware.
situation that the child was being constantly sexually abused under their nose. And then she went, told the mom said, shut up, keep quiet, don't say that about so and so. And that damaged her to the extent that, I mean, how it came up is that as a married woman, she had to seek counseling with her husband. And that was how this came out. So our actions and inactions clearly have far-reaching consequences, than we can ever fathom or imagine on our children. And that's why if you can't raise a child, please don't have one. That's just, don't have one. We don't, I mean, and then when you're have the ones you can manage. Don't have, yeah. And it's not about money. It's not about money at all. I know couples, your time, your understanding of the role, because you can have time but don't have an understanding of what to do with that time. So you waste time. After all, people waste time. You just find out that, oh, all the time I could have done more. I could have, recently my son came home, he's a football addict and whatever. My husband would take time and take him to his academy. That academy is like almost 2 hours away. He would sit there with him and then bring him back, because there's no way we can leave him there, but he keeps saying that it's a sacrifice. It's for his son, and they use that time to bond. This happens maybe 3 times a week. So whatever my husband is doing, any appointment, he schedules it around that period, just so that he can be there, for his son. And at that time, they'll go and watch movie. I mean, I don't watch that kind of movie. The movie that they'll be fighting, they'll be jumping. I don't watch all those things. So they just do daddy and son. They do daddy and son and then go and do that. Recently, my husband is Arsenal. My son is Man U. My son defeated. He broke my husband's heart. But
yeah, after
the day my son can say, I'm tired of people losing everything. I can't take this no more. I say, yes, glory be to God. Yeah, which one are you going to now?
We are gonna go. We are gonna fan forever. We'll be Arsenal forever, Whether they lose or not.
My house is actually divided on that.
Not by marriage. That is my club.
My household.
It's my husband's club, so it's my club.
My household is divided on that. My household is divided. I am Manchester United. My husband is Manchester United. I am Arsenal. So some of my children are Manchester United, others are Arsenal. So we are always like, okay, on this day, what is going to happen? Who is going to win? But it actually adds to the atmosphere as well.
Because
it adds to the atmosphere.
This bond in the home, it creates a healthy rivalry. It creates, after all, my husband will still go and buy his Man U jersey for him. Last time we were buying, he said, I can't believe that he's buying Man U jersey. I said, but this is part of allowing a child to actually be what he wants, to be, as opposed to forcing him. He was forced to be Arsenal for a while, but at some point in his life, he was like, no, I'm not doing this no more. And I'm like, okay.
How Arsenal will make you have an enduring spirit, a spirit of gentleness and humility, and a never say die spirit.
I'm telling you,
I'm holding my head.
Arsenal will help you to feel whether you have it or not.
Arsenal husband are the best husband, though. If you don't have that, that's part of my marriage counseling. If it's Arsenal, I know that you will not go. Whatever you do. However you misbehave, is there.
You
like
there with it. Happy?
Okay, so I guess we can I would want us to give last words so that we can wrap this up. There's all so many angles and perspectives that we can still go into. but because of time and everything. So let me start with Mojisola. Please, as a last word, just give us something.
Okay, my last thought to parents is that the methods of parenting, it has changed and it's evolving. But the goal of parenting, it remains the same, which is raising awesome children to fulfill their potential while adding value to their family, to their community, to society, and the world at large. So as the methods are changing and it's evolving, let parents so be aware. Don't let's use the yardstick of where we're coming from to raise those millennials. It's not going to work. And there are also some things that are not worth fighting for. There are some battles you need to let go. Maybe sometimes you want your children to do some chores. You want it now, but the child is saying, Mommy, can I just have some minutes or some few hours? I will do it. Those are battles that you can let go. Just ensure that the chores are done. So you don't have to go back and forth and be having issues over something. Then again, my last word is for every rules and regulations or discipline you have in your home, have consequences. Be flexible, don't be rigid, but at the same time, stand your ground and let your child know that this is what we stand for. We're not going to change from it. As much as possible, let our children know that God exists. Let us raise them according to the right way that God will want us to raise children. Let them know God by themselves, not just as their mommy's God or their daddy's God. Thank you, Auntie.
Thank you, Mojisola. Morenike?
My last words are be a fair and just parent. That's what I always say. Let your whatever rules, boundaries, consequences you're setting, let it be fair. That is FAIR, because children, they are things that, wherever they are in life, being children, teenagers, or adults, when your judgment is fair, they know that you are a parent that is listening to them. Whatever it is that you're thinking about, if you're correcting them, let it be in love. So it's not like you're bringing hailstones down from them. Let them know that, okay, what my parent is saying is because of, there's always consequences, but they're correcting me in love. Let them know that. Let them feel the love from you every time, because of course, letting them have an understanding that there are consequences in life is part of living. There is no get out of jail card in real life. It might happen, but not often. And I think it's very important we encourage questioning. Let our children ask us question. Let us ask our children question, because it's like an open door policy, so that they can feel comfortable coming to you, and give them quality attention rather than quantity attention. Very, very important, so that the communication is always open, and they can come to you to deal with situations they might not be able to deal with. Because as they grow older, based on what you've imputed in them, there will be some situations they might be able to deal with. But when they realize, okay, there's some things I might not be able to deal with, I know that I can come to my parents and we will deal with this sensibly. There's fairness, there's justice, and just have that relationship with them. And of course, we being Christians, we need to ensure that the principles of Christianity is involved, letting them have a relationship with Jesus, not just being Christians, but having a relationship with Jesus is very, very important as well.
Okay, thank you, Morenike. Brother Kolapo.
I'd like to just pick up from where Morenike ended, and just the nice way to put it is to say, if what we're putting into the lives of our children now will determine the future that they would have, then my question is, what future do you expect to get from what you're putting into those children now? And I think if we take the time, a couple of moments to actually sit and reflect, it will make us actually question if we're actually putting in value and we're sowing seeds that will sprout into beautiful relationships, beautiful achievements, beautiful successes beautiful conquest, really, because that is really what we're doing. We're putting in deposits in the lives of the millennials that are going to yield some sort of returns in the future. So as parents, we need to ask ourselves, really, if the tangent that we're on now is going to bring in something good in future? A very, very good question that we need to ask. And as it continues not to deviate from this topic, I think there's another set of people we actually need to reach out to, people who are in this. For example, people who turned out to be widows or widowers who really have some issues or journeys as well. It's a good opportunity to say, look, hope is not lost. There's all help available. And I think in subsequent IT sessions, this will be looked into. But the last and the most important thing, nobody is beyond redemption. And I think it's good to actually put that on the table as well. There's no point that we will get to that is beyond redemption. As long as we focus and determine in our hearts that we need to change and we put in enough into it. And most importantly, our Heavenly Father as well. We put out all our cares and burdens on Him because He is here. It's important that we start putting the lives of our children as important prayer points and decisively involve them in spiritual nurturing activities and events. We must do it because the enemy is out there, he's setting traps, he's forming cliques, he's forming societies, he's bringing anything to societies that are dangerous. So we must decisively also focus on bringing them into the fold to grow in the way of Christ. If we take that as a critical focus point, I'm very sure that would good outcome at the end of the day, and all of us will be proud parents, and it takes the body of Christ to be proud and grateful as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I would like to wrap this up with letting everyone know that there's a consequence to having unprotected sex. That means you have children, married or not, and you're responsible. I can't stand it when parents say they have given birth to the child and then they are not responsible. You are responsible. Every child that comes that God puts in our care, we are responsible for. There's so many people who want this joy and can't have it. And if we have it, then we must take the job absolutely seriously. You know, because God wants us to raise godly children. God doesn't want us to raise our children for the enemy. And it's also in understanding that when two people, we're still going to have something for single parents, because that's a whole different topic. So that's why I'm not mixing it with this. But having two people come together, the minute you decide to have children, you have become role models of some sort. And you have to be careful that everything you do will be read. Like I wrote in one of my children do what they see. And that's where the conflict is in the world. Because they say, but I said you should do this, but you were doing something totally different. And that's exactly what your child, you know, did. What you do, what they see is what they would do. So we have to be careful. We must know that we have a responsibility to the world to raise children that will not cause trouble. All these people robbing people and, you know, doing all sorts of things, they're children that were either badly raised or were not raised at all. They were just born. You know, people just dropped them. So I think those are the areas that we need to. And then also we've spoken about spending quality time. We've spoken about being intentional about spending quality time. Because that, if you need to keep a diary, please do. If you need to keep a diary for the time you need to spend with your child, go on and do it. It's your diary, it's yours. Every phone now, you don't even need a manual, hard copied. Every phone has a place you can diarize, you know.
That.
Yes, if you need to do that, mothers who take on, and it's both ways, mothers who take on the role of raising the child alone, even though they are in the house with a man, and they say, yeah, I will do it, it's my child. You are creating problems for that child. A child needs the father and the mom, both of you. You don't try to do it alone. And that's why a lot of women are frustrated. They will do all the wale alone. They can't have time to, you know, relax and make up, and then they are running from one church program to the other, seeking for what is they could easily, God has given them. You know, take your time. I remember raising my children. There were times that I just couldn't take it. I would go and lie down. It's my husband that would take care of them, because it's like I want to go crazy. And they knew, they said, Mommy is resting, just leave her. Let her just rest her head. And you know, and it's very important for women, me time. Women, stop presenting your husband with children you both of you didn't plan for. You know, these are the little, these are these are things that they bring to me as to lament. The other will come and say, I didn't want that fourth child, and she went ahead and had it, and I've told her that she's the mother and the father of that child. Guess what? That child is in trouble already without having anything to do with the decision of the parent. These are issues, real life issues I get to deal with. So please, before you, if you don't want to have more children, do birth control, tie it up, you know. Yes. If it's not working, then another excuse, the woman will say, I've used also, it's not working. Let the husband tie himself up to everybody.
Everybody should be tied.
After is he planning to add it elsewhere? It's not for both of you. If he's not planning anything, my prayer is that our children will not disgrace or embarrass us or cause us to weep.
Amen.
You know, in
Amen.
Jesus' name. So I will end with this quote. I am a millennial, which means whatever you say or do to me is always on record. Let's remember that. Thank you, my guest. Thank you, everyone. Nice having
Thank
you.
you, Auntie Zeno.
I will, of course, be calling on you perhaps for another topic, but
Okay.
just be on standby, please. Thank you. And I do hope those who
Thank
watch
you.
this gain 1 or 2 or 3 things from this. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.